Lemons. This is the car for Scott.
Tracy, can you hear us? Tracy.
Oh.
Yeah, this is Allison. I can.
I can hear you.
I can hear you
Really
as well.
loud now. Poor Sid is right next. No, I mean, they can turn it down. Oh, you're back, goody. I need to stick around.
Okay, how are we doing? Let me know when I can call the meeting to order. Tracy, can you hear us? Nope.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, good. Greg, are we on for you? All right, let's
Yes,
call
you are.
the meeting of Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 to order at 7:33 p.m. Roll call, please.
Oh, sorry. Director Decker,
Yes, here.
Director Slater Carter,
Present.
Director Softby,
Here.
Director Young,
Present.
and Director Boyd is attending. Is attending by teleconference today.
Present.
Good. Moving right along then to President's statement. I'll just make a brief update on the Murata Bridge is having its ribbon cutting tomorrow at 1:30 at 2 Murata Road. Please arrive early. And it will be for the ribbon cutting and the long-awaited repair of this bridge. They say 3 years, but as I recall, it had been falling down for decades before that. So everything is done at the speed of government. Let's be patient. Moving right along to oral comments. Do I have any oral comments from the board first? Clemens.
I think would be prudent to report of the shutdown, the water service shutdown of Fairland School, and give the board an overview. And I see that we have some folks from the community, and assume that some will have questions about this topic. So I'd like to give the board some information of the process and the current status. And I'm going to start with what actually usually happens in this area for any type of construction is that the Montara Water Sanitary District as a local agency is notified and part of the planning process. Schools go actually through a somewhat different process. There are different jurisdictions, and Sanitary County has some jurisdictions in this case, but they are slightly different. It is my understanding that the project is within the coastal zone and cannot be exempt from the coastal development process. So I will have to research and look into why this project was permitted without public notification and comment. We'll find that out. In any case, regardless of this, if this process is handled through San Mateo County or the division, the State Division of Architect that has some oversight in this and is actually charged with the proper permitting, that did not happen. So I'm just going to say the permit is that there is no permit from MWSD for the project. I'm not aware of any other permits being issued. There is some involvement of the local fire district. So that means that we were really not included in the planning process or informed about the construction start. Of course, it's a small community, we understand construction starts. However, I actually had a private meeting with the principal at Fairlawn School last week, that is when I was for the first time on site and noticed some immediately some issues and notified the school in writing immediately about the issues and requested the inspection following this. So the next morning we went on the site. That is our cross connection specialist and myself. Unfortunately, the concerns rose significantly after we toured the site. There was no one at the staff or the construction team really understood the plumbing, and like I say, there are we observed some concerns about backflow and cross connection issues. Cross connection is ultimately a contamination that it's some sort of a back siphoning or back introduction of non-potable water into the potable water system. So what we're really talking about here is a threat not only to the school, but to the entire community. It is normal procedure to protect a system during the construction phase from these dangers, and that did not happen, unfortunately. We notified the school district on Thursday with a shut-off notice, stating that under my assessment, it is not safe to hold any school events at Fairview. And unfortunately, we did not see any further reaction. So we did have, again, verbal communication with the school administration as well as written notification by email and letter. Again, there was unfortunately no reaction from the school district. So the next opportunity to converse with the school district was on Wednesday. There was no intent from the construction crew. Actually, at the first meeting, I left with the understanding that the devices that we are requesting will be immediately installed. So I was under the assumption that this work was scheduled for last Friday and implemented over the weekend before Monday. We understood that acquiring parts is complicated. We have some on the shelf and offered to essentially lend them to the school district to go around this problem. The devices have to be certified by district staff. We made it clear that we are standing by around the clock to certify the device day or night, on the weekend, whenever, before Monday. For this past, that is so on Monday in Wednesday's meeting. What was shared with us from the construction crew ultimately was that devices have been ordered and that there are plans to install devices in some months. We are charged here with the public health and safety of this community. At this point, to protect the community as well as the school, I notified the school on Wednesday that we will terminate service. The fire district was notified, police was notified, Sanitary County was notified, county health was notified, State Water Resources Control Board was notified as well. So what we've gotten as now as a reaction was a second site visit. Excuse me, but it would be my third site visit, and that was today. That was this morning. So we were allowed on site, and I want to thank our county health officer for immediately jumping on this and meeting with us as well today at the Fairlawn View School. At the site visit, some of the concerns were alleviated. I'm just going to say I am currently not satisfied with the conditions at Fairlawn View School. However, our system, the entire community that we are charged with protecting, is currently protected through the shut-off. The installation of the backflow prevention devices that indeed actually started today and hopefully will be completed by tomorrow is the plan. I really hope that this will be completed by Monday, would allow us to open up water service to the school. County Health is going to advise the construction team and the school administration on any further measures that should be implemented to keep the school open and keep the children safe. I'm just going to repeat, we are charged with public health and safety for this entire community. The risks at the construction with the entire community were essentially to the entire community. So with essentially being charged with the implementation of the cross-connection control, I did not see any other chance to resolve the situation immediately, because this is an action that this requires immediate action. And the only way to get the school to comply with our requests was the shutdown. We are not making the decision if school is in session or not. Fire department has inspected the site and confirmed that proper fire protection exists for the school to continue. So we're at this time looking forward to resolving this issue as soon as possible. And what I'm talking about is the public health and safety concern. So to do that, we will install a backflow device. At that time, we actually will take a water sample, because that is a standard procedure and it is required. I want to just briefly touch on sampling. Got some comments today from folks why we didn't sample. Well, sampling is something that we do when when there is a problem. In other words, if we would be in a situation where we would have to sample, it would be too late. There would be a problem. So we don't even want to be in a situation where sampling makes sense. Cross connections and backflow issues really depend on pressure fluctuations, how this is introduced and essentially flow and backflow through the system. So it's not, it can be a continuous situation, but most connection or backflow issues are intermittent. So sampling is not a solution to detect the issue. There are other issues like pressure tests, etc. And I'm assuming that Sanitary County Health is going to put a comprehensive program together to ensure the safety of the children. What we can do is ensure health and safety of this entire community. And that is why we had to terminate temporarily the water service to Fairlawn View School. I think that concludes my report. Again, I'm looking forward to resolving these immediate issues, and I'm also looking forward to responses from Sanitary County, questions that I asked, about the planning process and trying to understand where this is. And we are in agreement with the school. The school is going to file an application and catching up on the processes that we actually require. And that we have jurisdiction over in this district. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
This is some of the most interesting and exciting stuff to cross this desk in a while. But I don't really understand what happened. What I pieced together from this is that Farallon View made some kind of a water connection, not a sewer connection, but a water connection, which was not permitted in accordance with the various outstanding statutes and regulations and stuff. And that because it introduces a potential danger of backflow, that you therefore declared that according to our own obligations of public service and just how we're supposed to run things, that we shut them off. I never heard something that simple, but that's what I pieced together from what you said. Is that basically what happened?
You're correct.
All right, cool, thanks.
Thank you.
Catherine.
Sid.
So I have a couple questions. One of them is, you started meeting with them on October 25th. Why would they not like run to the problem that you pointed out to them? I don't understand what the delay was. And also, was this cross connection backflow issue something that had been in existence for many years since the school was built under maybe different plumbing standards? And you just happened to walk onto the site and notice it? Or was it something they had recently installed but incorrectly?
So that's something that we're trying to unravel. Looks to us that the hiccup in the processes is essentially happening not for the first time. The school was permitted in the 60s by this district. I'm not aware that the school district ever came back for any permits. So what I'm saying is there is 50 years of piping, plumbing, additions, etc., that we have not seen. The division of architect, of course, is required to provide proper inspections. Local codes don't apply, so the current county plumbing code does not apply to the school district project here, but state law does, so the unified plumbing code applies.
But it could have been old originally, or they've been doing repairs along the way. You don't know.
There have been many additions and alterations to the system.
I see.
What I wanted to mention is we, of course, requested as-built drawings and plans. We received the plans yesterday after we announced the shut-off, and we received the as-bills today. So that's another step that allows us to review us as well as Sanitary County Health to properly review and assess.
Well, I think it's really important that we have safety, not only for the kids at the school, but also for our community for in the case of backflow. So I'm glad you were Johnny on the spot and noticed it, but I'm surprised that they didn't approach us in advance for permitting or, you know, consultation or anything. I don't know why that didn't happen. Did they explain that to you?
Well, I initially asked the question, and essentially there is the reference to the state division of architects having that jurisdiction that, of course, we understand our jurisdiction, and we are required to implement essentially the cross connection section of Title 17. That is a state law. And that is what we're doing this time.
Thanks for your concern for the community as well.
Thank you. I see a question from Danielle, who is on an iPhone. Her hand is up. If folks in the audience have questions, please raise your hand using the toggle at the bottom. Thank you. Danielle.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm a parent at Fair View. I have a few questions. My first is, can you elaborate a bit when you said that you still have concern or that you still are not satisfied with the conditions at Fair View? What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is that that I am still concerned about potential cross connections. There was a lot that was shown today to the group that actually proved that there are I was shown some of my concerns that they're actually not cross. However, there are so many unknowns on this property. As well as, well, we did find some issues, some actual issues, not direct cross connections, but potential cross connections, essentially wrong installed backflow prevention devices, non-functional devices. That wouldn't be necessarily a grave concern, but the problem is there is a lot that hasn't been serviced. There's a lot that was installed that no one has knowledge about what happened. Separation between water and sewer was not adhered to. So the same trench, same box, that's an immediate concern. Of course, we were assured that during the construction project, all plumbing will be replaced and renewed. That's I understand that's probably why the staff on site is more focusing on the new construction and didn't necessarily look at what's existing. So I hope I addressed your question, Danielle.
So do all of your concerns need to be satisfied before the water is turned back on?
No. As soon as I understand that the community is protected.
Well, I also want to make sure that our students and staff are protected. So I want to make sure that the concerns that you have still that would linger even after the water's turned back on are being addressed and are not of concern.
So first of all, there is probably still some time. So the water is being turned off. So there is time for everyone to understand more and potentially to take action. But again, I'm focusing right now on what is under our jurisdiction, and that is the actual connection. So the connection will be opened up again as soon as we are satisfied that our system and our community is protected. The school has my statement. The school also is being advised by the county health officer. Again, I think that is a very crucial and important step, and I think that is very good that the school and the county health officer are working together. We are not, we don't have any control over what is happening at Fairlawn in the school, so the decision is made at the school administration.
Thank you. Danielle, did we answer all your questions? Okay, Shay, I want to apologize.
Sorry, I still have another question.
Okay.
It's my understanding that that backflow connections are supposed to be certified every year. Is that true, correct, in our county, and is that not happening? Has that not been happening?
It has been happening for the devices that have been required before and that are installed. The problem here is that there is no backflow prevention proper backflow prevention at Fairlawn New School to protect our system. So before the backflow devices are put in service tomorrow, Saturday, or hopefully the latest on Sunday, our staff will certify the backflow devices before they go in service, and after that, annually.
So it sounds like this is something that potentially should have been caught well before now, if it's a site in your jurisdiction that isn't being tested or recertified every year because it doesn't have one at all? I'm just,
Again, the installation of these devices is tied to the permitting process. So if we can only make these requests if someone comes to us and asks for a permit. That's essentially when this protection is triggered. So that never happened. So now we're forcing this to this process.
okay. And my last question is, if there was this threat or concern that you found a week ago, why was the water not shut off immediately?
Well, there is no active cross connection. There is no contamination or proof of non-potable water being served or backflow. These are concerns. These are grave concerns, and that is why it is very usual to work with applicants to allow them to install the device. Usually, there is some time required to order them, schedule contractors, etc. So it's we are not used to a situation where our requests aren't met.
Okay, I mean, it just seems to me if it was a grave concern, as you describe it, that water would have been shut off a bit more immediate. But thank you for answering my question.
And I hope I answered it by saying that there are concerns. We are required to provide proper notice. I thought that would suffice by issuing that notice once, and that would be immediately implemented. That was the case.
Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, Shay, I want to apologize. I couldn't see your hand. It looked like the light from the lamp behind you reflecting on the wall on your hand on the screen. Anyway, Shay Young.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. We're a small community here, and walk down 3rd Street, you can hear the bell ring for Montara for Fairlawn View. You can certainly hear the jackhammers all day long, right? Like, this is something our 160 children at Fairlawn View have to deal with every day. It's a disruption to their learning. There's no question, but we're all excited about what's to come. I'm a parent, obviously. This happened very suddenly, and I'm very confused as to how this happened so suddenly. We had no time to prepare. There are kids, kindergartners who are trying to go to the bathroom in porta potties and wash their hands. And I'm just holding my breath for the first case of pink eye. So frankly, when we think about contamination, I think that's needed. And I look at the reality that this is truly old plumbing. We recognize this, but if this was an issue, why wasn't it addressed earlier? Why on a Wednesday, or excuse me, a Thursday, was it suddenly turned off for our kids? And with very little notice, with our principal going to Costco to get water bottles last night for water. This is what happened. So when we think about the impact you have at a school that's already struggling with construction, that the entire neighborhood knows is happening, this is the ramification of this decision today. So, there was no testing. We've asked for testing. You say that potentially there is an issue, but you haven't tested. So we don't know for sure. This is related to ancient plumbing that if there was a problem in the past, we should have taken action before now. I hear that this is a jurisdictional issue, which I translate to political issue as a layman. And I go back to this project has been planned for months, if not years. We all know this is happening in the community. And all of a sudden, on a Thursday morning, our kids don't have water. That's what happened this morning. So cut through it all. And let's just deal with the reality that some jurisdictional issue happened and we decided to lock it down this morning. And a bunch of kids went to school without water, and staff went to school without water, and kindergartners are going to the bathroom on porta potties. It could have been handled a lot better. A lot better. I challenge this group to handle things better in the future. If there's truly an imminent threat, then let's handle this better. And I appreciate the opportunity to comment. I know I'm passionate about this. I am a parent, so I hope you can understand where I'm coming from and really want us to do better here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Shay. I want to just start out with saying that, of course, we're part of the community and understand how important the modernization project is and support it. All of your questions are great questions, and I encourage you to ask the school district the answers to the questions, because we provided notification. School district did not provide notification to us. We provided notification to the school district. This is not coming to us as a surprise to the unified school district, as I stated, and is absolute common practice to protect a water system before construction starts. Again, I encourage you to ask these questions to the unified school district. These are standard measures and standard procedures that are common and should be adhered to. So I don't know the answer to your questions.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
No,
Okay.
I saw Christy Bill's hand up. Christy, would you like to speak?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Let me turn my camera on, if I can, if my permissions will allow. Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here tonight. I wrote to you all earlier today, and I really appreciated your response to the questions I raised. But I'm here with my little boy, who is a student at Fairlawn View, and he wanted to speak. If I can speak for him, though, I think what we would like to encourage this group to keep in mind is that this really isn't about the students and staff of Fairlawn View, in the sense that they're not the ones making decisions about this remodel, the renovation, plumbing. They're really caught in the middle between this governing body and Cabrillo Unified School District and the decisions there. So we like to ask for your compassion in thinking about the kids, the teachers, the staff who, as Shay so articulately explained, are really, they're in a tough spot. They had a really hard day today, and I am all for keeping the community safe. I live in Montara. I want safe drinking water, but I also want my child to have a good experience at school and not have his learning disrupted by things like this that are really hard to understand for me as his mom. And definitely you can imagine as a third grade student how complicated this is for him to understand. So that's what I wanted to share. I really appreciate the time and the consideration. Thank you all for everything you're doing to keep the community safe. And I really hope that going forward, there can be a better partnership between the Water District and Cabrillo so that we don't find ourselves in a situation like this again. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Clemens, you have a comment back?
Well, quite frankly, I'm just going to repeat that we, as soon as we became aware of these issues, we notified the school district. Unfortunately, the school district did not notify the community. It's a public health and safety issue. I am required in this situation to terminate service to protect the entire community. I really hope, Christy, what you said is becoming true, that there is going to be better cooperation between Montara and MWSD, and all signs that I see are actually going in that direction. So CUSD is communicating very well at this point. and also following our recommendations to implement the proper protections.
Thank you. I see Sarah Neal.
Yes, thank you. Also a parent from Fairlawn View Elementary School. I just wanted to clarify if the backflow or whenever the backflow valve is put in, and how, like, if you get a notice saying 11 a.m. tomorrow saying that the valve is in place, what exactly are the next steps? That somebody from your office will be there within like 2 hours to check it? And how standard are those to install? Like, how many more days do you think our kids will not have water?
So once the device is properly installed, the test is not a very time-consuming test. So we're 5 minutes away. It's a phone call. So I hope we're there faster than 2 hours. And the test, I'm just going to say it's going to take less than an hour. There is a proper flushing procedure required to open essentially the system back up. Of course, we're going to proceed accordingly. We're also going to take a back T sample as we are required for shutdowns like so. All in all, we're talking about 2-3 hours after we get that call, we should be able to open that service back up.
And is this something that happens during office hours on Monday to Friday? Or if it's installed over the weekend, that's a possibility too?
Yeah, I told the school district that our staff is available around the clock. They can call at 2 in.the morning on Saturday or Sunday, whatever time we will be available. We have staff that has to respond for emergencies. And that staff is certified to test these devices. So we were very clear that as soon as that is installed, we are able to test and reinstall it.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
And let me interject and then I'll call on Greg, who I see next. This was the same message that was given to the school district 1 week ago. They have known for this whole week that they were needed to do this job of putting in this backflow device. It was the school district who was told. It was the school district who should have been dealing with this. So I'm glad to see so many parents here. And I'm really excited because I know there's an active, intelligent, vocal group of parents looking after Fairlawn View, and you're going to need to continue to do that. My kids went to Fairlawn View too. Greg.
I want to focus on the planning communication side of this, not the last week or so of events. The MCC routinely gets notified by the county of permits and work that's being done. In fact, Sean showed up sometime in the last 6 months and gave us a nice presentation on what they were doing in El Granada and so forth. But I don't recall the MCC ever receiving the normal plan referral, with a 6-digit number. So I don't need an answer now, but what I would like to see happen is a postmortem of how this California Architects Group or whatever, here we are doing work in the coastal zone. We have a county planning department. I don't know what connection is not being made that should have been made, but on behalf of the MCC, I don't recall seeing a referral. So I'm just kind of surprised, and I would like that chain of causality to be explored in the coming weeks after the emergency is over. Thank you.
Thank you. I see no more hands.
Can I ask a question now? To any of the parents out there, I'm just curious. I guess I take it that CUSD took care of getting the porta potties, but are porta potties just adult size, or do they have a little kid size too?
No, they're adult size.
I'm sorry.
They're adult size.
Oh,
And
okay.
Yeah, a follow-up is if this really had to happen, couldn't we have done this on a Friday? Couldn't we have given the group that has to fix this time on a Friday afternoon or the weekend to do this? And I love the idea of a postmortem. I think that's a fantastic idea because I'd really like to understand the motivation behind doing this in the middle of a school week when the impact to the kids is the greatest. What are we really trying to achieve here? If we're trying to achieve change, let's do it on a Friday. If there's no imminent threat.
Clemens, you notified them a week ago
Yes.
tomorrow.
I'm just gonna.
On a
actually-
Friday.
This is an immediate public health and safety concern. We've been trying to work with the school district. As soon as I understood that the school district is not cooperating, I had to take this action. We are charged to protect the health and safety of the community. I'm not certain if I was able to send the message across how serious this is. The entire community was at risk.
If it was so
As
serious, why
soon
didn't
as we understood this, we took action. And asked the school district to comply. As soon as we understood, the school district stated they would comply. As soon as we understood that they are not complying, we took action. So it's a very serious concern. And I recommend not to take this lightly. Yeah.
I see two more comments, one from Friends of Carolina View, PTO, and then another from Leslie's iPhone. Friends of Carolina, please.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Kyle Eckberg. And I'm going to be a bit more blunt than the other parents that have talked. There have been a lot of words spoken and not a lot of traction. I've heard a lot of finger pointing. I've heard a lot of bureaucracy. I've heard that it was an urgent concern, but it didn't need to be shut off immediately. And then when we were asked why it wasn't shut off immediately last Friday, it became a more urgent concern. So there's been a lot of back and forth. And it is just, it's extremely frustrating to sit here and listen to it because in the end, it is the kids that have suffered from this, right? And the staff that had to be there with them through all of this. And yeah, I live in the community as well. I've seen how Montara water works. I've had multiple pipes broken in the middle of the street in my house that they've got to weeks later, right? Or I've called and I've seen the speed in which it works. And so listening to this now and hearing public health and public safety and the community and this and that, again, it sounds like it should have happened then and there. And instead of dragging it out for a week and, you know, again, the finger pointing, it's crazy. So yeah, let's do this postmortem. Let's figure out what happened here, because obviously the ball was dropped multiple places, I have to assume. And I find it really hard to believe that a major construction project like what's happening at the school went through without anyone looking at anything and going through the proper permits. That just seems really odd to me, especially considering that I watched the construction slow down for an abatement team to be there for a week plus because of asbestos that they found in the wall. So in this case, you're telling me that they just completely ignored something that was a huge public safety risk.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't know. It doesn't seem to add up with what I've observed at the school.
Thank you. Leslie?
Hi, this is Matt Chucci. I'm using my wife's phone. I apologize. Montara resident and father of some kids at Fairlawn View. Just wanted to get some clarification on something that was said regarding Danielle McGee's questions about the backflow preventer. I just want to make sure I understood it properly. So is there a backflow on site right now that is either broken or installed improperly?
There's essentially two services. There's a domestic service There's a fire sprinkler service. The domestic service is 2-inch size, fire sprinkler service is 6-inch size. The 6-inch has a 60-year-old failed device installed. The 2-inch is unprotected.
Okay. And second question is I have fire prevention at my house, sprinklers. You guys come out every year and test the backflow, and we get charged for it. When was the last time that those backflows were serviced by you guys prior to finding the inspection approximately a week ago?
So the device was not installed by this district and therefore was not part of the certification process. Ultimately, for us, this was a completely unprotected connection. I'm going back to, again, the installation happens with permits. Problem is the school district did not come to the district for permits. And with that, we have no jurisdiction to ask them to install it.
No, I get that portion. I'm just trying to figure out the historical aspect of it a little better. That's all. Who would be responsible for checking that backflow that was failed on both the fire side for the sprinklers as well as the water line going into the domestic feed? Whose responsibility should that have been all these years?
The Division of State Architects is ultimately in charge of that. If there are devices on site that we test, so the Division of State Architect or the school district or even the school district owns some devices that are located on the school that are tested by us regularly. So I hope I answered your question.
I'm still a little confused because my concern would be, are we allowing an outside entity to certify the backflows that go into our 6,000 customer Montara base? And we've been trusting that for all these years.
So the devices are tested by Montara Water and Sanitary District staff, or are supposed to be tested by Montara Water and Sanitary District staff exclusively. I can't tell you exactly what's going on with the school. All I know is that we are asked to test some of them.
Do we have any record of the last time that those were tested?
Not the devices on the connections, but devices that are installed at the school at other locations. I can get the records. I did talk to my staff and they confirmed that we are testing those regularly. So I assume within the.
So am I to assume that this, because just understanding backflow preventers are the ones that are failed inboard of the school from yours that prevent it from going back into the public water supply? Is there two sets on the same lines where you guys monitor one and the school's responsible for another inbound? If I'm trying to, I hope that came up.
And good question, and I can only partially answer it because I don't know. I just got the as-bills. Nobody understands the plumbing at this point at Carolina View School. What I can tell you is that, yeah, there was a backflow device that was improperly installed, non-functioning, and that was not at the service connection. That was actually at the disconnect of the well, there's essentially at the disconnect to the admin building that's currently being gutted, but not the actual disconnect between the water connection and the building, but instead a irrigation system and the building.
So then the main line that you tee off of has a functioning backflow preventer. Is that what I'm understanding? And that the one at the admin building that is teed later on, that also has a connection to non-potable, I'm assuming, that's the one that was failed, but the one that prevented Montara from being contaminated was functioning?
So again, there is no functioning or proper device at the connection to Montara.
Okay.
I hope I just cut through this, through your questions, but there is none.
Okay. And then just the last thing I have is, ma'am, you had said earlier that you guys had notified Cabrillo approximately a week ago. And for us, we're just trying to figure this out and figure out there's culpability somewhere. And we want to direct it in the right spot and not the wrong people. Would you be willing to release that in the same public manner that you guys did that good press release last night, just so that we can see what was notified to the school district so that we can then address that appropriately?
Yeah, could you send me an email so I know where to send it to? Absolutely.
If you guys wouldn't mind posting that just on your website, just because for us, we need to direct our efforts to the right place, and to the wrong place is a complete.
I like the idea. I can post the letters, but quite frankly, there is more communication in email form that I'm not going to post. I don't think we want.
No, just without having to do like a FOIA request. I was just hoping that there could be something that we could have that just gives a timestamp on the notification to this school district, so that we can then ask the appropriate questions to their direction. And I thank you for the time and your patience working through these questions.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Guys.
Scott Boyd?
Matt, thank you. Thank you for your questions. Those were really good. I think the thing I want to emphasize is that in listening carefully to what Clemens has said, it came as a bit of a surprise that the response from the people on site and the people he talked to and raised the concerns with, it came as a surprise that they didn't respond in a timely manner. They had the entire weekend to attend to things with offers of help from Clemens and staff, even up to and including a backflow prevention device that is on the shelf at the district office. They had the entire weekend. That's plenty of time to scramble to take care of this, or at least to notify parents and say, hey, we're going to have a problem this next week. Maybe we can plan for it. Just radio silence as far as I could tell. I didn't hear anything come out to the community from the people who had been notified. And this is not it's just really surprising. And so I don't think it's that surprising. I know there's hey, if it's that bad, why you just shut it off right away? One of the things Clemens said was it's normal to give people a minute to respond. They had the entire weekend. And what's surprising is that wasn't enough time for them to take this seriously and start mobilizing to get this thing dealt with. So in matters of health and public safety, I think there's a learning opportunity here. And I agree with Clemens. I think it'd be really good to come out of this with better lines of communication, a better understanding of what kind of permitting process is not only necessary, but helpful for protecting the health and safety of the kids, the staff, the teachers, the community, everybody involved, because this is one of those shared resources where all of us, kids, parents, teachers, staff, everybody is affected by this, or could be affected if something goes wrong. So a little more snap to on this would have been great, but here we are, and I'm glad to hear that Clemens and the crew are ready the instant that there's something to test, that we're able to get out there and test it.
Sid?
I just want to say that I think it would be great if Clemens could publish at least a brief timeline of the chain of communication back and forth, and let everybody see when you first contacted CUSD and when they didn't respond, or when they finally responded. But by the same token, I really want to applaud the fact that you're looking out for the entire public safety of the whole system. And this really isn't, CUSD has done this in the past in other issues. It's not with Fairlawn View, but
Sid,
yeah.
Sid, could we stick to the issue?
Sure. So I'm just saying that for some reason, even Greg at the MCC, Mid-Coast Community Council, said they did not get any kind of notification. So I think the initial ball was dropped back at CUSD and not necessarily here, but I know I can understand every parent's concern, because if I had a little kid, I'd be upset too. Thank you.
And I want to thank the community for turning out for this subject tonight, for listening carefully. This is the reason that we have a local water district, so we can respond locally and be heard and seen as soon as possible. So thank you very much. And I look forward to getting more of this information out so we are all smarter and wiser and can act well. Thank you. Closing this public hearing and continuing on with public opinion, we have another speaker, Virginia Chang Caroli.
He took it down for some reason.
Yeah,
Where's
well,
the microphone?
he was trying to put it back up and you shoot him away.
Well,
here, would you like?
Here, you're fine. All right.
I don't need to be on camera. Thanks, Peter. I just wanted to give the board an update on the San Mateo County LAFCO elections for special districts. I was elected to the board. Thank you very much for supporting me. I'm representing special districts on the San Mateo County LAFCO board, and I look forward to representing special districts. Right now, we've had a couple of meetings and we've been working on some topics, one with regard to the Broadmoor Police Protection District and one with regard to the East Palo Sanitary District. We've just completed a municipal services review for the city of Birmingham and the town of Hillsborough. So we've been pretty busy, but I just wanted to really just thank y'all for your support. And if you have any questions or need any information, just contact me.
Sid?
when is the next municipal services review for the coastside area?
I don't know yet because we're putting together that calendar, but right now, as soon as we can, work with the two special district issues, the Broadmoor Police Protection District and East Palo Sanitary District, we'll move forward and seeing what other districts and or cities would be.
You might want to wait till after the lawsuit gets settled.
Well, I mean, let me just say this. I just returned from the Cal LAFCO conference in Monterey, and it was very, very informative. And one of the big takeaways that I got was that LAFCO can be a collaborative partner in, just making sure that things are in order, but also commending some of the good things that special districts and cities do. So I think that what LAFCO wants to do is to be seen as an informative partner. So I don't want people to think it's kind of like the civil grand jury to think that we're only being critical when I think that we can be constructive as well. Thank you.
Greg?
I didn't realize this issue was going to come up about the school. I had a different concern, which I'll raise, and I don't expect to have an answer right now, but we've become aware of the use of pesticides in weed control in San Mateo County.
Greg,
There's been
I
some-
thought you had a question for Virginia. Let me get to Bill and then we'll come back to you.
Sorry. She's still at LAFCO.
So I'm glad you're on LAFCO. I first heard about LAFCO when I was a teenager, and my she was on the Environmental Quality Coordinating Council, and her friends were on LAFCO, and I just thought it was a funny name. And now, from what I hear, LAFCO is an agency dedicated to, roughly speaking, consolidating special districts into larger organizations. I won't say where I got that idea from, but if that's true, then it means we need defense here, because special districts are under fire from larger fish who like to eat them. Now, is that roughly true? And if so, what can we do to help you protect us?
Well, I wouldn't say that that's 1,000% true, to be honest with you, but I think that the special districts that are in place right now are important to the respective communities, and they are being respected. There's these two particular special districts have had financial problems, and that's why they are just being looked at. But that doesn't mean that LAFCO is dissolving them, right? And so we're just trying to kind of keep abreast of what's going on since tax dollars are involved in the vote. But right now, it just seems like, it's pretty standard in terms of the municipal services review, and, they're just going down the the line of, both the cities and the special districts. But if I hear of anything, 'cause I'm a big special districts proponent as well, living in an unincorporated area in West Menlo Park, I will definitely let y'all know.
Beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wanted to raise an issue that's become a concern at the MCC. It has to do with the use of pesticides in parks, lands in the county. And so my question for future discussion is, does MWSD test for the presence of pesticide-related chemicals in its water supply?
The answer is yes, some, but are you asking for Roundup?
Yeah, that's one of them. That's the hot topic, but there's several formulations of Roundup. There's a half a dozen chemicals.
Yeah, so I mean, we're testing for what we're required to test. And it's my understanding that not all pesticides are properly regulated. So we're testing for what we're required.
Can I get a list? Is it in a document somewhere on the website?
I have to look it up. It's probably some sort of a packet of contaminants that the lab checks for, and I'm happy to do a little research and let you know what we're testing for, but can't properly.
Okay, thank you. It appears we're at the end of public comment. Do we have any more from the board? Okay, moving right along to public hearing, we have none, and consent agenda. There are 10 consent agenda items. Approved minutes for the regularly scheduled board meetings of October 5th and 19th, 2023. Approved financial statements for September 2023. Approved warrants for November 1, 2023. Approved SAM, I'm sorry, look at the SAM flow report and look at the monthly review of current investment portfolio. Connection permit applications received. Number 7 is accept the monthly water production report. 8 is the rain report. 9 is the monthly solar energy report, and 10 is the monthly public agency retirement service report for August 2023. Does anybody want any motion, any items removed?
I move to accept the consent agenda.
I hear a motion and a motion from Bill and a second from Peter. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, with an absent, we have to do a roll call vote.
Thank you.
I saw Scott nod too, I'm sure. Anyway, let's do
I
a
was
roll.
nodding.
Who's roll calling? Clemens?
Director Decker.
Aye.
Director Slater Carter.
Yes.
Director Saltry.
Aye.
Director Young. And Director Boyd.
Aye.
Good, that carries. Moving on, old business, we have no items. New business, item 1 is review and possible action concerning receipt of fiscal year 2022-23 audit.
Thank you, Catherine. I would like to introduce our new auditor, Bryce. And Bryce, thank you so much for your patience. I know you had to wait a little longer than expected. I'm just going to introduce this by saying that I'm very happy that we have an audit at this time of the year. You recall, we actually just received an audit for 2 years ago. And that's quite some time. We've actually, since I'm here at the district, and that is longer than I want to admit, we have never received an audit that early in the year. So, I mean, that speaks just to the firm, but also to our staff. So, you know, that is big thanks to Peter Medina, particularly Tracy and Sonia for helping to prepare this and making everything available. With that, I'm just gonna hand it over to Bryce and present the financial statements for the past fiscal year. And we have, of course, our accountant Peter Medina available to answer questions and make comments on behalf of MWSD anytime. So Bryce, please start.
Thank you, and I will share my screen if that is okay.
Yes, please.
So I just want to agree with what Clemens said, that we were able to get this done so quickly because of the staff there at Montara and all their good work and preparation and help. It was a pleasure working with everyone there. As Clemens introduced me already, I am Bryce Rojas, out of Cropper Accountancy. I'm a partner there, and we were hired to perform the audit, and we were able to issue an unmodified opinion. That's what we're paid for, is to review the financials and give an opinion on the financials. And an unmodified opinion means that it's clean, or that in all material respects it's fairly presented. The financials are fairly presented. And as part of that, we are, during our testing, we are able to note what is going well at the district and their internal controls over financial reporting, and also maybe what can be improved. And so at the back of the financial statement report, we issued a memorandum on internal controls over financial reporting, and we did not identify any material weaknesses, which is good. If there's a material weakness, that means an issue could come up where the financials would be materially misstated, but we did not note any of those deficiencies. We did note a couple other deficiencies. One is a significant deficiency that was actually caught by staff. A couple of years ago, accounts payable were put on the books, and then they just remained on the books for a couple of years. And during the prior to the audit, it was noted that this happened, and so a correction was made, and that created a prior period adjustment. And as a result, we have a significant deficiency. We did note a couple of opportunities or areas which the internal controls could be strengthened. And one of those is having an accounting manual. Entities don't realize how important an accounting manual is until they actually need one. When they need one, it's too late. An accounting manual will state the responsibilities of each individual and how to perform those responsibilities and when to perform them. And like I said, I've seen many instances where an entity loses a key individual and there's no instruction on how to replace that individual's responsibilities. And there's just a little chaos going on, and that's when material weaknesses come up or material deficiencies. So we're recommending that the district create an accounting manual for all the positions, all the responsibilities, and how to perform them. Additionally, during our testing, we were walking through some of the procedures, and we noted that during one of the pay periods, someone was on vacation, so the proper approvals wasn't performed. And so we're recommending just that the district not bypass controls. When there's a control, keep it. Even if somebody's on vacation, you got to still implement those controls. And then
could you elaborate a little bit? I kind of got lost on that.
Okay. So we were looking at one pay period, and we were looking at the time cards for the pay period. And the control there is that the manager signs off on the time card, says, yes, this person worked those hours and it's good. But during this particular pay period, that didn't happen, and payroll is still issued because employees need to get paid. So we're just recommending that even though someone's on vacation, there should be a backup to the control, to someone else, like to approve the time cards. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Okay. And then the last opportunity we're recommending or suggesting is to have a board of directors code of conduct. We asked if there was one, and there isn't. And the code of conduct is helpful because the the board of directors sets the tone for the whole organization. Everyone looks to the board of directors and or commissioners, forget which. And they follow the tone that the board sets. It sets an ethical standard, promotes accountability, protects organization reputation, maintains trust, and guides decision making. So we just recommend that code of conduct be adopted by the board for the board of directors. And then moving into the financial highlights, the net position of the district at June 30th, 2023, where the equity was $32.6 million. Out of that, 55% or $17.9 million was net investment in capital assets, land or machinery and facilities. And then the unrestricted portion of the equity in that position is $13.5 million. If the district were to take out this investment in capital assets, pay off all their debts, it'd be left with about $13.5 million. And so the net position of equity increased from the prior fiscal year to June 30th, 2023 by $2.7 million. And that was a result of a $1.1 million decrease from operating results, $3.2 million increase from non-operating results, $500,000 increase in capital contributions, and $147,000 from that prior period adjustment that we talked about or mentioned earlier. And then here's a pie chart of the revenue sources. Most of the revenue comes from service charges from both water and sewer. Sewer is about 3.8 million or 42%, and the water service charges is about 20% at 1.8 million. And then the remaining is the water reliability, the GO bonds, investment, interest, taxes, and so forth. And total revenue for the year was $9 million. And then on the flip side was expenses, and the major expenses for the district were sewer maintenance that went to SAM. It's about $2 million or 28%. Water, general and administrative was 20%, and then sewer maintenance repairs for water was 11%, $778,000. Depreciation was in total about 1.5 million. And then you have interest expense and other repairs. And some additional notes, long-term debt decreased by about $1.2 million. And that means payments were made in an amount of $1.2 million. Capital assets decreased from year to year, $340,000. There were additions about 1.1 between the two, water and sewer. And then, like we mentioned, depreciation brought it down $1.5 million. And then also pension expense. I think last year was a pension asset. This year is a pension liability of $40,000. We're seeing that everywhere. The pension liability is getting larger for many entities, all entities, because of various actuarial influences. And that's my presentation. Are there any questions? Anything I can help clarify?
What kind of the pension liability? What are the actuarial things, for instance? Because I don't know.
There's a discount rate. There's
the Fed discount rate.
They use a different discount rate. I think it's about 7.5%. And then the investments held by CalPERS didn't do as well as they had in prior years. So that created a liability. And then contributions from this district and other districts, it all works together.
So how do we cure the $40,000 pension liability? Was that what I heard?
Bryce, I just can't interject. We just received actually from our actuarial this very report.
Okay.
So what you're talking about was topic here at the board meeting and was explained and laid out.
But that's not something the employees take the burden, it's us, the ratepayers, right?
Well,
The deficit.
it's a shared burden, and I think Peter, I don't see your window open, but I'm assuming Peter actually has the exact numbers on what the discount rate is for the district and employees. So, but I just want to say we did have actually the presentation 2 meetings ago from the actuary.
I remember it, but I just don't understand. Are we gonna have to someday kick in to cover that, or is it?
Maybe.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
because we've done the exact same thing, kick in to make up for it at SAM.
I see.
That was the
Well,
plan,
that's
that was the plan that the
depends
board
on-
adopted.
Okay, I know, but I didn't like that. Too late, I wasn't on the board then. Okay, thanks.
I went around. Sorry. It's a moving target. It really is hard to clear that liability. Every entity, I want to say 95% of the districts and cities have a pension liability. I was really surprised when I saw it was a pension asset last year. So I wouldn't be discouraged that it is a liability. Like I said, it's a moving target. It depends on how the market is. It depends on how they invest, if they're doing it optimally or not. And so it's kind of a moving target. You do pay premium, you do have your contribution every year that they tell you to contribute. And so that's what I'll say. I'm not an expert on this at all.
Okay,
But that is what I do know.
thank you.
Do I see more questions from the board? No, Scott?
Catherine?
Yeah.
Last I checked, still on the board. I just wanted to mention the presentation from our actuary talked about 2 factors that are probably worth noting. A little bit outside of our control, but one of them is simply the life expectancy numbers have come down a little bit. We just went through a major worldwide health thing, which seems to correlate somewhat with that. And hopefully, as we get on top of that, maybe we can see life expectancy numbers come back up. The other factor was how the market performed in the time interval that the actuary had to take into account. That was earlier in the pandemic, and they were, because of the way they had to do their work according to the law, they had to consider a time period that, unfortunately, from the way it came out looking, was not very good performing for the market. The market after that time period has picked up, so I would expect some of these numbers to change a little bit, just as that sliding window of the time period that we're looking at catches up with some of our more recent experience and what's happening in the economy. That said, even if we have an amount like this to deal with, this is not the kind of big pension liability that was breaking the back of other agencies, because we came in and did something considerably more conservative than the kind of things that led to all of the big fallout and the new regulations and all that. This is done after that and informed by all of that.
Thank you, Greg.
I have 2 questions. One should be hopefully easy. By my calculations, the SAM Sewer Authority, of which MWSD owns 20%, has current replacement value of about $150 million in assets. My question is, what's the value of MWSD's share of the SAM asset, its ownership stake, on the books now? The more important question, over the years, going back some years, there were problems with the books at SAM. And in the last years, we've received good audit reports. It seems they've finally gotten things under control. Financial statements are now reliable. But my question for you as an auditor, did you do any testing of the numbers at SAM, or are you relying solely on their representations of their financial condition? So that's 2 questions. What's the book value of the SAM asset on MWSD's balance sheet today? And then did your tests include any inspection of SAM? It would give me comfort to hear somebody else say SAM is looking good.
Those are interesting questions. Can I defer to Peter on the value?
Yeah, it was an accounting question, really.
Yeah,
to ask.
Peter Medina can easily answer that question for you. because we do not in our books state the value of sand other than a value that is linked to the amount of their capacity that we're using. And that is a fixed number over the years. That doesn't change from one year to the other.
Sure, but what is that number?
It's
$2.687 million.
Yeah.
Thanks for that again. 2.687.
$2.687 million.
Okay, thanks. And then the question about testing or auditing, was any tests done of the SAM books in terms of these
No.
financial statements?
Yeah,
Okay,
you're not
thanks.
auditing Sam, correct?
Okay. Greg?
I asked my questions, asked and answered.
Asked and answered. Okay, I see any more questions from the board? Okay. I found the pie charts interesting and I'm hoping, I didn't find them in the staff report. I'm hoping we can maybe put them in the financials on the financial section on our website as a quick reference for folks.
I just want to thank Bryce for the work that he's done. Yes, our staff has helped, but Bryce, you have done a very good job. I like the way that you approach the issues, and thank you so much for your work.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And so the question is, do we need to have a motion to adopt this or just accept it?
No, President Slater Carter, just acknowledgement that it's been received. The board's received it. There's
Thank you.
no motion.
Receipt acknowledged then. And we're moving right along to the next agenda item, which is a report on the review of the Alta Vista groundwater monitoring update. And I'm looking at all the graphs and stuff here, and I could take days on this. Thank you, Mark, and I look forward to diving into it.
Yeah, so yeah, I agree. This is the highlight of the evening. What we're talking about is ultimately the deep water aquifer in the back of Montara. So the district was required for the first initial 5 years of operation of the Alta Vista well to implement a groundwater monitoring program. And the district's hydrologists, Balance Hydrologics, implemented this program. Well, they also found the water. So they helped us implement this program, and we decided that it is extremely prudent to continue to monitor this aquifer, to understand really what's going on in the underground. We are in this coastal setting very much used to tapping into non-consolidated sediments that is perfect for aquifers. There's a lot of pore space between the gravel and sand that can fill up. That's very different in bedrock aquifer. And therefore, so we can't just do regular pump tests like we do in these more homogeneous settings. And that's why we're looking at other alternatives to understand more about the aquifer. And Fortner is our expert on this and is reporting to this board on in regular intervals about the status, and the longer we pump this aquifer, the more we understand about it. So this presentation here was actually given at the Groundwater Resources Association meeting in Burbank last month. So we thought it would be prudent to repeat the presentation here. And Mark is ready to do exactly that. Mark, put it away.
Yes, good evening. How am I coming through?
Good, fine, well.
Okay, it was great to see everybody. Thank you so much for the for the celebration. And I know the district's come a long way in the last couple of decades. And let me share my desktop here. So we have this presentation. We intended to bring it to the board before the conference. It was presented at the at the Western Groundwater Congress. It's a Groundwater Resources Association of California annual gathering, and it's a good place because it's frequented by other hydrogeologists and agency folks. So there's good listening and good feedback on this topic. It was a 20-minute presentation, and I actually had a hard time sticking to the 20 minutes. So how's everybody doing this evening?
Good. Can we handle 20 minutes, or should we ask to have it taken down? How long do you think closed session is going to last?
Christine.
We have a couple of items, 30 to 45 minutes, depending.
I think 20 minutes would be okay then.
Yeah, well, that was a fast run through and with no questions. This is a kind of topic, just kind of forewarn you, that can it's a lot of thought-provoking information, and I'm sure some of you will have some questions. I'd be glad to return another time and answer, get into more detail.
I think that would be great. I think it would give us some time to digest it. And I know Greg will have about 45 different separate questions that he's been asking me over the years. And I see some of them are answered in here. So, and I'd like to spend more time on this because the public as a whole deserves to understand the strengths and weaknesses of our major water supply.
Yes, and also one of the in addition to presenting this update, one of the objectives is to inform the new board members and any of the public about how the Alta Vista well was found and why is it unique, how is it unique, and just its importance to the water system.
Well, particularly because the short story is Citizens Utilities, CalAm and RWE said there was no water to be found. And
yeah, that's a very good point. I was looking at, maybe I can take a few minutes here and kind of give a prepper to the presentation, and then we'll see where we are in time, and then go from there. I'll share my desktop. I would like to. That's excellent intro, Catherine. I would prior to this, I was pulling up some old reports and such. Going down memory lane from back in the 90s. Let me figure out how to share my desktop here. Share screen. Okay, share. So how's that looking? Do you see my?
We see your screen. You go.
Okay, good.
Best.
So, one of the things, a couple of things I wanted to point out. some basic concepts that. Here we go. So there's this we're oh, the presentation is let me get coordinated here. The presentation is was titled Sustainable Management of a Fractured Groundwater Aquifer in Coastal California. And some of the key words here is sustainable management and fractured groundwater. And so I was looking at some of these things. I want, you know, ahead of this calling in here, and this yellow just to kind of give you some background here. This yellow portion is the Sigma groundwater basin, and Sigma is the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, Sigma, and it is fairly new to groundwater management, but it's a big hit. It's very important, and it applies to all the groundwater basins in California. And this is the groundwater basin is a alluvial basin, not a bedrock basin. And this is the alluvial basin for your area. It's ranked at very low priority. But what's important is the alluvial basin. A few years back, it automatically, you know, based on their equation or algorithms of how to assess this, the priority of it, it jumped from a very low basin to a very high basin. And when it raises in priority, there's more impact to management. So that's and this is the Half Moon Bay Terrace groundwater basin, which is regulated under Sigma. Your most of your wells are bedrock wells. They're outside of this basin, and so they're not regulated under that act. But the problem with bedrock basins, or the challenge, is that there's a lot more uncertainty in where the water is coming from, how to manage it, and so back when the district bought the system from Cal-Am, there was a lot of emphasis on this basin. I mean, the airport aquifer was one of the main sources of water, and there was a report that came out in 1999 from the Department of Water Resources that was helping Montara, the sources of water. And so in this report, they focused on this basin, and a lot of emphasis was in this area. They recommended drilling, exploring the Ocean View Farms area, because it's very similar to the existing airport aquifer source of water. And so at that time, we put together, we did a lot more investigation and put together 12 potential drilling sites. And those are labeled here with the BH, borehole 1, borehole 2, 3 is right here, 4 or 5. And it's mostly focused down here, but there were a few up in the bedrock area, because you did have these Portola wells, and the Portola wells were not very, they were low yielding. And the conventional wisdom at the time is, well, bedrock wells are, they're generally uncertain, they're low yielding, and they are they tend to dry up during droughts or get overpumped easily. And that is, that's well known by agencies and people on the coast. So I wanted to give that framework to how the Alta Vista well came about. We started drilling these 12 wells. When we got up here, we drilled borehole 9 and then also Alta Vista well, and that's the well that was successful, and that's the focus of this presentation. Another concept I wanted to lay out at the beginning here is what's unique about your area. One of the things that's unique is, well, back at the glacial maxima, about 12 to 14,000 years ago, the coastline, let's see if I can get out here. The coastline was way out here by the Farallon Islands. And since then, you know, the Earth was cooler. There was continental glaciation. There are glaciers in the Sierra Nevada. So a lot of the water on Earth was trapped in as ice, and the ocean elevation was lower. Since then, the Earth fluctuates in temperature. You know, there's a lot of geologic evidence that the Earth has fluctuated in temperature quite frequently, you know, in geologic time, and that's related to planetary wobble and all kinds of other issues or mechanisms. But what's important here is during the since the last glacial maxima, the Earth has been warming and the ocean has risen. And what's important about that for you, and what that has done, is it has reduced the groundwater gradient towards the ocean, because the ocean, the base level is higher. You no longer have the steeper groundwater gradient that was there 12,000 years ago. And it has trapped older water at depth and below sea level, that has trapped older water. And that'll be important later on. I'll explain how that's important. Older water meaning thousands of years old. The other thing that's done is sediment has backed up in the watersheds. There's less of a surface water gradient. The streams are now shorter, and sediment has backed up in the valleys, and that, as you probably have wondered, you know, when you get up there in Montara Creek, that upper area, that it's still kind of like a box canyon that has very, very, very unique features to it. And the sediment here, and we learned from drilling, is 80 to 100 feet deep. So that makes a very unique, what's called a shoestring aquifer within this alluvium. And that alluvium has mostly been backed up over the since the rise of the ocean. So this concept of having a higher ocean baseline water level is important for your area, for groundwater in your area.
What are the red lines?
Okay, yeah, some of these other things. Okay, so let me just review. This is your area. These red lines, let me turn off the Half Moon Bay. These red lines are faults, they're map faults. And they're mapped by the USGS. And the major fault here is the Seal Cove fault, which also extends down the coast and up towards Point up this way. There's another fault here, San Andreas fault that you know about, and that's a major fault that extends through here. And these are just these are the local faults that trace that similar northwest to southeast direction. So we have, I'll turn off these 12 drill sites, and what is left are the Portola wells. These are your Portola wells, the Park well, and the airport wells. There's the Oak Street well. These are all your source wells. And we have these 5 wells that were drilled in 2004. That's this 04-1, 04-2. These 2 are the first 2 drilled. You should probably know about. They're 2 of the monitoring wells. They're productive. It's just they're a little bit far for piping to your system. So this one is more productive than this. The other ones up here, 04-3, that was pretty low yielding. Same depth as Alta Vista well, but it was low yielding. We moved down here and drilled that one, and that was successful. The other one is 04-5, and this is this was going to be a deep well, but at the same time we were drilling this, this well was successful, so we stopped on this one. This is a monitoring well now, and we have 2 other monitor. These are shallow monitor wells by the stream. There are 3 stream gauges. There's Martini Creek, which is unimpaired watershed. It's a reference gauging station because it's unimpaired open space parkland. There is Daffodil Canyon. So there are 2 drainages on each side of this ridge that Alta Vista draws groundwater from. There's Daffodil Canyon, and that's a small but perennial. It flows constantly throughout the summer because of a spring that's here. And then there's also Montara Creek. This is like the North Fork. Montara Creek also has a diversion, as you're well aware. It's on here. Yeah, the diversion, and that's piped to your treatment plant. It goes from here to your treatment plant. So the Alta Vista well is just uphill or up the road from your treatment plant and storage facility. There's a spring. There's a very prominent willow thicket and spring area here. So we have 2 shallow monitoring wells. These are alluvial monitoring wells next to Montara Creek, and one's upstream of the wetland, or it's a willow thicket, or a spring fed willow thicket, and there's one downstream of that. And then there's a gauging station at the confluence here of this North Fork and at Riviera Street. So that's the monitoring, the monitoring system you have. There's 2 rain gauges. There's a rain gauge up at your treatment plant, and a new one that we put in since the first of the year. A second one here. They're both online, and you should be able to see them in real time. Any questions?
I was going to say, Mark, we've got to be out of here by 10, so, and that includes closed session. Why don't we take a good spot to break and come back to this in a little while, in a next meeting?
Yeah, that sounds good. That is, and yeah, that sounds very good. So in closing, so the next meeting, what we'll do is go through this. Let's see. I believe you have the PowerPoint. It goes through, this is basically an update. We'll go through an update of how to reach a sustainable pumping rate for the Alta Vista well.
I think that's a critical piece of information for the whole community to have, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks for the comprehension overview too.
The overview was very useful.
Yeah.
And I remember when we were digging some of those test wells, so does Clemens, and we're all excited when we get water. All excited when there was no water.
Oh yes, yeah, one thing that's important is because of the success of the Alta Vista well, we stopped drilling other sources and we put all our effort into the Alta Vista well, which was a good decision. It's probably the best water source.
That was success.
Yeah.
So between you and Clemens, when we get to the next one, we only have a limited number of meetings before January. And I know with any luck, one of them will be a court decision that we'll be taking a fair amount of time with. So moving right along then, let's move on to reports.
So will Mark be on the very next meeting then?
It depends on the agenda schedule.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll stay tuned.
Please.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can I talk to him separately?
Only if he'll talk to you, not on our nickel.
Yeah.
But I did hear, Greg, and I told you this, that the rumor mill told me that Balance wants to get rid of some of their a portion of their library books, and I would like to figure out a way how we can get all the ones on the coast side for this part of the coast side into the new Montara Moss Beach Water Library. So,
Well, just on behalf of the NCC, I do have a bunch of questions. And, given the uncertainty of rescheduling, I would really like to have a session. And I don't care how you want to hold it.
okay, why don't we take 5 minutes? Pick your questions.
No, let's not do that because it's just going to go on. But just, can I have a session? Can we schedule a Zoom meeting outside of the board?
I think the conclusion is that we reschedule this whole item for the next agenda.
Let's do it then.
I haven't asked Mark if he's available, but if that doesn't work, it's gonna be the following. So we prioritize this the next opportunity.
In 2 weeks.
I understand everybody sees that this is going to take some time, so we will find, I'm hoping that the next meeting will be, the meeting that we can use for that. And we'll put some focus on this.
I think it's important.
We really want to. Everybody agrees this requires more time.
I think this is the kind of thing that a college student could learn from, as well as our local Caroline View students. So, okay, let's move on to reports then.
Yeah, I did want to say that I agree it could be a lot of questions because we go through some fairly technical, but not difficult, but the technical and unique methods of assessing the groundwater. And each one of these methods can open up a question or two. Everything with groundwater dating methods and water quality modeling methods, yeah, I could see this taking it could potentially take a long time.
We'll bring pizza.
Well worth it. Thank you.
Thank you. Greg, Sewer Authority Mid-Coast side meetings. We didn't hear about the school from. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got that up with Mid-Coast Council. I apologize. Last night was a tough night. We had our finance committee meeting for Q1. It appeared everything was on track. Everything is sort of tentatively on hold at SAM until we get the trial court decision. We're making progress on things. We heard that the insurance company has verbally denied Sam its insurance claim because it was a water-based claim.
Oh my God.
It was water that did the damage. Clemens or Keishan is looking to see what can be done, and we're working hopefully to get $750,000 from FEMA, as I recall. Is that the number?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. All right, Midcoast Community Council meeting.
I wanted to bring up one pending issue, which is the broadband community fiber network we were trying to initiate. We're stalled because the county hasn't moved ahead with any of our requests to form a legal entity or fund a feasibility study. But in talking to some folks, it became clear we already have a bunch of entities, legal entities here on the coast. And so I just raised the possibility for future discussion whether MWSD might be a lead agency in the creation of the community broadband. I realize there are going to be possibly LAFCO issues. I can't even imagine what else. But as you know, our communications is derelict, and I'm anxious to get something going. So, you know, I turned to MWSD and asked the question, and we can discuss it later.
Thank you.
I think you know that Montara Mountain had some road maintenance issues. I'm advised, Clemens, you can speak for yourself, but it's not in your watershed yet. But we have seen some problems with what was done there by the Department of Emergency Management, I believe, in coordination with state parks. And I'm concerned about erosion, and I don't know, you know, enough to qualify as an expert on that. We're going to be taking a trip up there with some people from state parks. And I'll stop there because I know you're pressed for time.
Thank you. So,
as far as a legal entity, I would like to see MWSD at least explore helping out with community broadband, because with the Alta Vista well, there's already some providers up there putting their towers up, and maybe there's something else we could do to help our own community. I was at the Coastside Democrats thing where Senator Becker was speaking, and Leo Gomez came to that meeting. So, I mean, it's on the radar, but it seems like, you know, if you don't keep pushing, they drop the ball. So I hope, you know, I don't know if Clemens has any idea, but it would be great if we could help out or lend a helping hand to you, Greg. Thank you.
I suggest we take the Montara Moss Beach attitude and just do it and ask permission later.
You know, like the road up there.
Like everything else. CSDA report, nothing to report. I did go to the I get certified as a something or other trained person. That took 3 days, and I can give a better report on it later, but it was very worthwhile, and I highly recommend everybody take the CSDA classes when they're available. LAFCO, you heard from Virginia Attorney's report.
Thank you, President Slater Carter. I do have a brief report regarding an initiative measure that is slated to be on the November 2024 election ballot. It's an initiative called the Taxpayer Protection and Government Accountability Act. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it. I have not dug into it too much, but it's potentially will affect special districts' ability to adopt and increase rates and fees. There's an effort underway, a challenge or a petition that's been filed with the Supreme Court to review the measure prior to the election to determine whether it actually can go on the ballot or whether it violates basically constitutional law. That effort is being undertaken by and supported by CASA, CSDA, the California Association of Counties, and the League of California Cities. In any event, it could have some serious impacts on Montara Water and Sanitary, and so I will just keep you posted as to its status. But I did want to mention it. If you happen to hear about it, it's something that we should definitely be aware of, be interested in, and ask a lot of questions.
Bill?
Since it's worth 5 minutes of our time, can you spend 30 seconds saying exactly what this act would do?
I tell you what, let's make it a special agenda item because CSEA opposes it.
Mm-hmm.
And it has to do with limiting the ability of special districts to have money.
Okay, that's all we can get at this point.
No, there's quite a bit more, but it's
Okay.
It may subject our rates to voter approval, number one, and it's retroactive to the year 2022, which could require us to review our rates that we've already adopted. Those are two major issues that I'm concerned with. Does that help, Bill?
Yep, thanks.
Okay.
It's thought out by people who don't understand.
Don't think.
Finance. Director's reports. Seeing none, general manager's report is in the staff report.
I have two additional comments. Okay, last Friday, I spent some time with our operations team, to be specific, last Friday night. We have a number of leaks since some weeks. It's always whenever it gets moist in the fall, ground starts moving. I anticipate that we're going to see more of that happening actually, probably in the coming month. But so we were working on our highest pressure line and our largest line. 10-inch, and that's why I thought it would be a good idea to be there. And I have to say, it was extremely impressive what I witnessed. The teamwork between our staff was amazing. I can't highlight how well together this group is working. I mean, it looks to me like, you need to spend years and years together, almost living together, to get to that understanding of simple hand signals, looks. The communication was extremely good, very perfect, and the job done was outstanding. Unfortunately, after we put it all together, I left at midnight. The crew was way beyond that. Unfortunately, the whole thing blew again and had to be redone. But that is part of this whole process. But I really was so impressed with witnessing the cooperation and the together between our crew, and Rini's crew was there, was also excellent and very good in participating in decisions, etc. Second comment I have is in my staff report, actually claimed that I would take some time off. That's not going to be the case, so I will be here all of this month. Thanks.
Thank you. I think that's real important given what's going on with the school. Sid?
There was low water pressure about a week ago in Steel Cove, and now it seems a little better. Do you know anything about that? Because I saw it next door, other people were mentioning it too.
Yeah, that was that week. We had to essentially make some changes to pressure zones. Most affected were, and we did not get a complaint, but we notified the customers, I'm gonna call them Moss Beach Heights, so everything that is above Buena Vista in the back, Buena Vista, Loma Alta, that's where it gets really high and the pressures tend to get low. So there was a pressure situation for from essentially from Friday to Tuesday. And yeah, I'm gonna thank those customers for understanding the situation as well.
Thank you, Clarence.
Good. Moving right along, and thank you from the board to the crew. I know I've noticed that when they were working on that crushed pipeline on Alamo, and we have as a community put together an awesome team. Moving right along then to what's next on the agenda, which is to take a break and move into closed session. We have closed session items, and I've lost the agenda, so I apologize. Would you like to read the closed session agenda?
Right there.
Oh, thank you. That's the trouble with digital. It disappears.
Exactly.
Existing litigation, Half Moon Bay versus GCSD, MWSD, and SAM. Existing litigation, class action PFAS and drinking water. Anticipated litigation, initiation of litigation, Caltrans ROW, and anticipated litigation. Thank you. And so let's take a break and come back in 3 minutes. Or however long it takes the cameraman to